Welcome to Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson,
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
and I'm fucking back. I'm back from the dead. Uh, I missed last week's episode because I got married, and Connor, it was great having you there.
Woo!
Uh, not the ideal first week of marriage because we both caught COVID. Our daughter got COVID. That was like on Tuesday. We're recording this on Saturday night. Now we both have it. Me and my wife. Now it's weird saying that out loud. So not ideal, but we've been able to hang out together and just kind of watch movies, watch TV shows, and while you're sick, it's also nice to just be in each other's presence. So there has been some positive notes. But I'm super excited to talk about this movie today, First Reformed. One of my favorite movies from the past, from the decade 2010s. That's one of my favorite movies from that decade. One of my favorite A24 movies for sure. Probably my favorite Ethan Hawke performance. I really, really like this film. It's Paul Schrader's, to me, his masterpiece. Of course, I think he's had better screenplays like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, but I do think that this movie, him writing and directing, it's his magnum opus. It's like how good can you get? And we don't know how much longer he's going to be around, so it's cool to get movies like this late in the game for him. It was nominated just once at the 91st Academy Awards for screenplay, Paul Schrader. It came out in 2017 at I can't remember which festival in the fall of 2017, but then it didn't get released nationwide or worldwide until May of 2018. So that's when I got to see it, and I was like, holy shit, this movie's really good. But my immediate thought was it's gonna get bypassed by the Oscars completely because it came out in May. It's this really tough, dark, gritty movie about faith, about one's purpose in this world, especially coming from Reverend Toller. He has like no idea what's going on. So I thought, oh, it's going to get bypassed. People are going to forget this movie. I do think people have kind of forgotten it. It was only nominated once. Had it come out in November, I think Ethan Hawke would have been up. I think Schrader would have been up for director. I think it had a chance at Best Picture. I do think that stuff matters as far as the calendar goes. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've seen time and time again, incredible films come out outside the window and get completely bypassed, and it's just not fair. And we see, mediocre films take top honors because they came out to the right people. They came out when people were paying attention. And, at the end of the day, it is all just a vapid popularity contest. But, we got to find value in something, just like Toller does in life. So, yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a silly game, but it's a game we play. So, so be it. A huge reason we're doing this movie is because the Black Phone just came out, right? Ethan Hawke doing another horror movie. I love him in Sinister. I love what he adds to kind of the protagonist character in that movie. But I think it's super exciting that he gets to play the villain in a horror movie. I have not seen it yet. Of course, because I got COVID, I'm gonna wait to go see that. I might try to see it during the week coming up. I would love to. So that's kind of why we chose this movie, First Reformed, to kind of shout out Ethan Hawke. I think he is one of the greats of his generation that's been totally underrated, compared to his peers, which is fair. I get it. I think Ethan has taken kind of a different path than the rest of these guys, like Leo, and Brad Pitt, those kind of guys. I think Ethan Hawke has been a little bit more ballsy with his choices and his unrelenting compassion to work with Richard Linklater. I think could maybe have held him back at some points where he could have worked with different filmmakers, and he's like, no, I want to work with my buddy Rick. So I'm very grateful for that because we've got the Before trilogy out of it. We've gotten his work in Tape, Boyhood, he's Waking Life, all these movies that I fucking love. It's one of my favorite director actor duos is Linklater and Hawke. But I do think he's kind of a tier below those main guys because of his choices.
Well, not a lot of actors have the patience to sign on to a 10-year project like Boyhood and see it through to the end. So I'm sure, I think you're at a party, you mentioned to some producer like, oh, I'm working with Richard Linklater for the next 10 years on this ambitious project. And they're going to look at you like, okay, like you might be crazy. I'm sure that factored into a lot of it, but also, I think the decisions he's made have been really smart. He's definitely done quality over quantity, as opposed to a lot of other quote unquote movie stars. But I think, recently, I think he's been getting more of a mainstream spotlight. What with Moon Knight and now The Black Phone. Like I think he's in kind of a good spot right now in a way that I think more mainstream film fans are like paying attention in a way they haven't been in his career. I think I hated him initially, and through the show, I've come to really appreciate his work. So there's that.
That's great. Yeah. I think he's had a great year with Moon Knight, The Northman, now Black Phone.
Yeah, The Northman. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, he's had a good 2022 for sure. Yeah, I've always said Ethan Hawke is like my movie dad. So if someone's is gonna have a good year, I hope it's him. He was nominated for Training Day, of course, alongside Denzel Washington. Obviously gets overshadowed there, but he's great in that movie. He also was nominated for 2 screenplays alongside Richard Linklater for Before Sunset and Before Midnight. Those are the second 2 movies in the trilogy. So he helped write those movies, which is also kind of something else he has in his bag, is being able to write. And then his last nomination was supporting actor for Boyhood. So he's got some stuff in there. He got a little resume, which is cool. He's got more than Paul Schrader does, which is crazy.
That is crazy. The amount of incredible work Paul Schrader's turned in over the years, and that's all the recognition he's got.
Yeah, Paul Schrader's one of the most disrespected, great film contributors I think we've ever had. The guy wrote Taxi Driver, which is a movie that goes beyond the definition of influential and has changed so many people's careers. I was just talking about with my friend, my other friend, we were talking about Oscar Isaac, and we both watched this interview where Oscar Isaac talks about how Moon Knight co-star Ethan Hawke. He talks about how Taxi Driver is, for 90% of performers, it is the movie they watch where they say, I want to do that, and I think you have to give a lot of credit to Schrader's, what he gave De Niro to say for that movie, that you got to give him a lot of credit. So I've always loved Paul Schrader, and Raging Bull is such a great movie that I've been wanting to do on this show for a long time. It will come. I'm thinking about later this year, we're going to do Raging Bull, but we'll see. Scorsese's got a new movie coming out in the fall, and it's like, what do you do? What do you do for Scorsese?
Yeah, it's hard, to pull back on this show, especially because there's so many incredible favorites that we want to just go after one after another. But then what? Then we're out of fuel. We got to go to the reserves, and we don't want to do that yet.
Yeah. With Scorsese, it's like, well, if it falls on a Best Picture showdown, well, then we'll do The Departed. We'll go ahead and fucking knock that out. If not, it's like Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Cape Fear. What? I love some of these movies, so it's tough. But that's why we do it. Is you get excited for those picks, and I was really excited when we figured out we're going to do First Reformed. It was like, this is the movie that Ethan Hawke should have been up for. I know he wasn't, but he should have, and maybe should have won against Rami Malek. Come on. I think Christian Bale was great in Vice. I think Bradley Cooper is great in A Star Is Born. And then after that, I think Ethan Hawke is next in line. I think Rami Malek, just take him out of there and put Ethan Hawke in at least.
Yeah, I'll never for the life of me understand where that win came from. It's so TV movie. It's not it's not Oscar quality work. It's not terrible work by any stretch. It's just
no.
Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie could have been so much more than it ended up being. And I feel like we got kind of the diet version of the film. And up against, those other guys, like Christian Bale was robbed, but Ethan Hawke absolutely should have been in his place.
Yeah, I agree. What's funny is I've been wanting to, I'm glad Bohemian Rhapsody got brought up, because music biopic. You saw Elvis, didn't you, today?
I did see Elvis today.
How was that?
It was really, really good. Baz Luhrmann was just the right guy to tell this story, because he brought his combo of classic setting and modern music that he's always done with Moulin Rouge and The Great Gatsby. Bringing that to Elvis was awesome. And Austin Butler is one to watch out for. Holy hell, was that an incredible performance. And Tom Hanks, obviously no slouch, plays a great, unlikable son of a bitch. It's awesome. This whole character of Colonel Tom Parker, that's such a strange story. How this guy became Elvis's like owner almost. It's so weird. And I was impressed. I was in awe. It was really cool. And I've always been a lifelong Elvis fan anyway, despite, the problems. But the film does address all that. His relationship with Black culture that is pretty problematic. But I gave it an 8. I enjoyed it. I think it has a chance come award season. Good.
Yeah, that's exciting. I know my wife now, she wants to see it really bad. I've never been an Elvis guy, and nor am I a Baz guy. He's not my person.
But you might be the wrong audience for this.
Yeah, but I do want to see it just because it looks like a spectacle. So that's good to hear that you enjoyed it. I know it's a movie that you should probably see in theaters just because of the music and whatnot. So I'll definitely try to check it out. Black Phone's higher up on my list. I'll say that.
Yeah, I really want to see that. Caleb saw that today and said it was absolutely incredible. So
good.
Yeah,
good.
Horror guy says it's great. It's probably pretty great.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that one out. Anyways, I think it's always fun to kind of connect what's happening now with this show. There's just limitless history involved with we're getting close to 100 ceremonies at the Academy Awards, which is just crazy to believe. So there's just a lot of history that you can kind of go back to. And even if we were shouting out Elvis, we could shout out Tom Hanks. We could shout out Moulin Rouge. There's so many routes to go, but I think Ethan Hawke and Paul Schrader is the way to go. And I also think it's cool that we could kind of open a conversation about movies that are heavily based in faith and religion. And so I want to do a top 5, religion movies. I don't really know how you see them, like your group of 5 movies, Connor. I don't know if they're all faith-based or, just strictly religion. Mine are kind of all over the place, but bottom line is all 5 of them make me think about religion and make me think about faith. And that's the most important thing, I think, when I was coming up with this list.
Mine, I went more in a direction of like, to me, religion is vastly problematic and a serious like hindrance on society. So I went with 5 films that I think poke holes in religion the best, like films that take the whole institution to task and refuse to compromise on a vision. And I do think we might have some overlap.
Okay, good. Well, without further ado, let's hear your number 5.
My number 5, going straight into the pagans, we have The Wicker Man.
Ooh, good pick.
Caleb and Josh and I did this on the Filmgazm podcast a few months ago before Josh went on deployment. And we just got to celebrate this gem of a movie that is basically amounts to Catholicism versus paganism on a Scottish Isle where everyone gets to just be naked and happy and carefree and just enjoy life. And this very stiff upper lip, highly religious cop is sent there to find a little girl. And he's like, what is wrong with these people? And they're all like, get the stick out of your ass and have some fun. And of course, they're all fucking crazy and they burn him as a sacrifice for some wheat. But it is a very entertaining film, a very creepy horror adventure, one of Christopher Lee's best roles, and a film that really shows how psychotic religion can turn people. People with faith in the darkest shit are capable of anything. And films like this show that it's not just, Christianity, it's paganism, it's everywhere. It's man's belief in whatever they think is going to make them prosper. It doesn't matter what God it is, just that there is going to be a God who will do something for you if you do something for him. And yeah, I've always loved this film's approach to religion. Yeah.
Great pick. I that's 73, right?
Yeah.
I also have 1973 for my number 5. You can guess what it is. The Exorcist.
Starting strong. All right.
Yeah. 70s. 70s horror specifically. You could go a lot of routes. I don't want to step on your list at all, but there's multiple movies from the 70s that are horror that kind of center around some god and devil shit. That's really, really cool. And I think The Exorcist has always been my favorite from that decade, as far as just kind of spiritual horror goes. It's got so many things in it that kind of define my admiration for the genre. So many things in the screenplay that are so perfectly put onto the screen that I turn to mostly when I question, why do I love horror? Why do I keep watching these movies? I kind of come back to The Exorcist and when I first watched it as a kid, and hearing those things of about if you believe it hard enough, it's gonna happen. And if someone, you can call it going insane, but that person is like believes that to be true, and so therefore it is happening to them. The power of the mind. It can go that far, and I love that about The Exorcist. It's also pretty scary. I don't think it's a movie that anybody complains about how well it's aged. It still looks crazy good, has great performances. William Friedkin had just come off of doing The French Connection, and he's just bam, bam. One of my favorite back-to-backs of any director that's ever existed. And I had to put this movie on here. I love its approach to how serious this can be, how serious it can be to have a child infiltrated by a demon. It's fucking cool, but also dark. And I love how serious it takes itself. And that's some of my favorite stuff from the 70s. So I don't have any other movies from the 70s, but this is the one that kind of represents them all, Otherwise, all 5 of them would be from the 70s. And then Wicker Man is definitely one I considered.
That's awesome. I will save my thoughts on The Exorcist.
Yeah. That's great. And The Exorcist, just out of my 5 movies, it has the most Oscar nominations. It has 2 wins for, I believe, best sound and best screenplay. It was up for best director, best picture, tons of different stuff. And I just wish we were still in time where we cared about horror like that, as far as the Academy goes. And I do think there are movies that are good enough to garner that kind of respect, to get double-digit nominations and 2, more than 1 win, that kind of a thing. I do think there are horror movies from the past 20 years that should have gotten that kind of love. And it just sucks that in the 70s, it seemed like they were paying attention more to this genre.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, I don't know what happened. Just as usual, the wrong people are calling the shots.
Yeah, basically. It's just, so it's amazing when you look back and you're like, what? The Exorcist was up for the most awards that year? What? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. My number 4 takes us far away from the Oscars.
Good.
To a noted comedic director named Kevin Smith.
Yes.
1999, Dogma.
I love Dogma.
I don't think we've ever really talked about Kevin Smith.
Not really, no. Especially on the shows.
Yeah, he's a guy I've always had a lot of respect for. And Dogma got banned in a lot of places because of the way this film tackles God. And I just love the way this film lambasts religion in such a smart way. It focuses on 2 renegade angels played by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, because of course, who are trying to exploit a loophole in Catholic dogma to get back into heaven. But if they do that, they are then subverting God's word, which is, set in stone. So doing that will obliterate the entire universe. So God charges an abortion clinic doctor with stopping this. And it's just perfect. You've got a great cameo from George Carlin as this hip new cardinal who's trying to introduce people to what he calls the Buddy Christ, because the Catholic Church doesn't have the greatest image these days. So it's like Jesus going hey, you got it. And it's so funny. You got Chris Rock as like the forgotten 13th apostle of Jesus Christ, Rufus.
Yeah.
You got Alan Rickman as Metatron, the voice of God, and Alanis Morissette as God. And it's just so rule breaking. It's insane. It's like you weren't allowed to do this until Kevin Smith did this. And I love that. He's a rule breaker. He's got Jay and Silent Bob as prophets of the Lord.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful watch. It's so funny. And it's got a good message of just, God doesn't give a shit what you're doing as long as you're doing something good. And I love that.
Yeah. And I remember I watched that movie. I was too young to quite understand what they were going for. And then I rewatched it as an adult and I was like, oh my God, this is borderline genius. I love that you picked that. I had no idea that you loved that movie like that. You can imagine. I come from a pretty heavily, Christian based background. As a kid, went to church and went to private school, and so that movie. Yeah, when you said that we didn't know you could do this until Kevin Smith did it, like, yeah, I totally agree with that and echo that. It was like important for me to see, that you don't have to think this way. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be this serious. You can have your own relationship with God, or you don't have to have one at all.
I love the movies and the TV shows and novels that point out that this is just a story. Like, it's not, it's not fact. It's not like Kevin Smith did not get smote for making Dogma. Like, you can fuck with this stuff. And I think the people who fuck with it are the most creative people who can find, new ways to kind of reimagine and reinterpret thousands of years of religious dogma. And I like that.
Yeah, me too. That's a great point. That's a good pillar to have in your top 5. A type of film that can fuck with it, in a comedic way, not just, because there's like This Is the End from whatever 2012, where they take it to like great lengths, and there, it gets. I love that movie. I think it's really funny, but there are a couple times where you're like, all right, there's not really much creativity here. It's more just bashing. Dogma's very creative and sticks to that.
Yeah, for sure. And it is not the last time I'm going to be going into comedy here.
Okay, good.
Yeah. What do you got?
That's awesome. Well, my number 4 is the movie we're talking about today, First Reformed. We'll talk about it a lot. This is when I first watched it, I couldn't believe it. I felt like it was made for me. And I guess it was, because it didn't even like break even at the box office. So I guess I was the only one who went and saw it. Don't meet a lot of people who know this movie or like it or have a relationship with it. But when you do, when you do find somebody, it is impactful. And there's, I don't want to step on my own awards that we're going to give out later to First Reformed. There's some dialogue in this movie that just puts it on a table and lets you kind of just marinate in it. And that's my favorite aspect of it, is how patient it is and how willing it is to go into those tough conversations. And I also love how weird it is. I love how fucking weird First Reformed is. There's some scenes that are totally out there that are like sci-fi horror type stuff that doesn't make any sense. And I love that about it. I love its willingness to get up off the ground, quite literally, and be weird. And Ethan Hawke, man, just when I saw this, I was like, see, like, I know he has this in him. He has this gear that he can go to where he is one of our great actors. And I think First Reformed, him not getting nominated is such a crime. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's one of the ultimate snubs for me from the Oscars is Ethan Hawke. I look at Ethan Hawke and I look at Toni Collette from Hereditary the same year. You could have done something really cool. You could have had these two very different, very unique, amazing performances from people who don't get enough credit. And I just feel like they dropped the ball there. But I fucking love this movie. There's a reason I picked it, to go with kind of, Black Phone instead of going with Elvis. It's going to be talked about a bunch later on in the episode, so I'll save my kind of deep thoughts for it till later. But it does connect with my number 2 a little bit, so I'll bring it back up when I say my number 2.
Okay. This film is really, odd, but definitely worth a few watches to fully appreciate. I love the whole idea of bring up why doesn't the church back up climate change?
Yeah.
You'd think that God would want you to protect his place.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense to me, but
will God forgive us? Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Yeah, and it's great how it ties in Ed Bulk Industries basically funding the mega church. So the mega church is like, let's keep it hush hush. And then you come to the realization that this is probably happening everywhere, and scary. It's very scary.
Church being financed by big business. What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Church and state.
My number 3 is The Exorcist.
Hell yeah.
One of the greatest horror films of all time. Maybe the greatest faith-based horror film of all time.
I tend to think so. I don't know if it's my favorite, but that's the best I've seen. Yeah.
I had this. I basically had to flip a coin between this and the Omen. I didn't want them both here.
Okay, The Omen is a movie I was alluding to earlier. Like, there's 70s gems out there like The Omen.
Yeah.
The Wicker Man, The Exorcist, that are just holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, the 70s was the first era where people really got to express themselves in film in a way they never had been able to before, and going after God was big on their list. So that's why a lot of these films exist, and I love that. Nothing's more establishment than the Lord.
Yeah.
But The Exorcist beat out The Omen for this specific top 5, mostly because of Father Karras. I love the character of a disillusioned priest, possibly about to leave the cloth, who is forced to confront the darkest evil possible and find the faith within himself to save this girl. That is the crux of this story. And that wins out for me. I love that story. I read the book recently too, and I was just like, this is so good. He did such a great job. But yeah, it's awesome to just watch somebody find their purpose in life over the course of 2 hours, and watch Jason Miller's performance is fucking beautiful. And I just love what he comes up against and what he succeeds against. I mean, unless you watch Exorcist 3, but that's for later. But yeah, this was definitely going to be on my list. It's such a great movie. And I wanted to have at least one positive faith story here. And that's what I went with.
where there's like some winning involved. Yeah.
It's about a priest finding, what he's supposed to do. What is God's plan for him? Kick Pazuzu's ass. That's what it is.
Yeah. You think you're questioning stuff. Just give me a second. Yeah. I also love Ellen Burstyn's great in this movie. Obviously Max von Sydow. Lee J. Cobb is awesome. Linda Blair's great. And Jason Miller it's one of the all-time horror performances. Just his facial expressions when he's going through what he's going through are, for whatever reason, relatable. You're like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. And then he gets thrown into this ultimate faith test that no one could really survive. If you and I were thrown into it, we'd run, we'd leave, we'd never go back into that room again. But Father Damien Karras he buckles up for it somehow. It's so good. Yeah, that movie fucking rules. I can't wait to do it on this show properly one day.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be fun to revisit that with everything we've gathered since.
Yeah. I think I knew how important it was when I first saw it, and then now it's like there is no way to kind of cap this movie. It is influential beyond measure, and that's a huge deal for both of us. We love the history of this stuff. So great. So you have The Wicker Man, Dogma, Exorcist.
Yeah,
I've got Exorcist First Reformed, and my number 3 is a movie that we both watched for the first time because of the show. Way back on episode 30, we talked about The Apartment from 1960, and we both found out how good Elmer Gantry is.
Oh my God, I forgot about Elmer Gantry. Fuck, I want to redo my list.
This is the movie that I thought we'd both have. My God, just probably my favorite lead performance of all time from Burt Lancaster, or one of them. It's probably my favorite Oscar win from any performer ever, alongside Daniel Day-Lewis and There Will Be Blood. Lancaster is the fucking man, and we've kind of figured out why through this show. When we did, From Here to Eternity, that was great. You're like, okay, here he is, kind of playing to type, But Elmer Gantry is like a showcase for Burt Lancaster, playing this salesman who turns into a pastor, a preacher, and just fucking loses his mind in the game. The business of religion, the business of Christianity. Just this movie's brilliant. It's so fucking good, and we've always talked about wanting to do it on this show after seeing it. It'd be cool to talk about Richard Brooks, obviously Burt Lancaster, and it'd be cool to kind of go back to 1960 because that is a true heads up. The Apartment versus Elmer Gantry. I don't know which one's better. They're both amazing movies for very different reasons, but I do think it's a true Best Picture race between those two. So it's always fun to kind of go back and revisit them a second time. But I have seen Elmer Gantry since we did that because this is right up my alley. It's right up my alley of kind of exploring the business side of this stuff and exploring the personality side of it. That even to be a preacher, to be a pastor, you kind of have to be able to sell yourself as if you're like a musical artist. And I think First Reform touches on that with Cedric the Entertainer. And I think Elmer Gantry touches on that big time with Burt Lancaster as Elmer Gantry. So yeah, I fucking love this movie. I thought for sure you'd have it.
I absolutely would have, but it slipped my mind. I was putting this together with kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, and I just completely forgot Elmer Gantry. Damn it, man. I feel bad. That should be rules. That should be here.
Well, I'm glad I have it, that we can talk about it because it's so fucking good, man.
That is, I love that movie. Burt Lancaster is one of those just pioneers of certain types of performance. And I love the way that film just skewers, the fucking, what was it called? The revival movement.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Just, hottest ticket in town. Come see Elmer Gantry.
Yeah, and it's like a circus. He's under the tent. He's under the big tent. He's sweating like a dog, screaming at people. You're all sinners. So good.
Yeah, we got to go back to that.
Yeah. That would be beautiful to kind of. That's kind of how I felt when we did Treasures of the Sierra Madre. We went backwards to a movie that we discovered on this show.
No.
Not discovered, but watched for the first time. Elmer Gantry, I didn't really know anything about.
Me neither.
So when we watched it with The Apartment for Best Picture Showdown, I was like, whoa, this is why we do it. This is why you put an arm out there, put a limb out there, and just see what happens, and sometimes you bring back a movie that's good.
Damn straight. And it is kind of funny. I guess my mind must have been on some similar wavelength because my number 2 is There Will Be Blood.
Ooh, yes.
So the spirit was in there. It was just pointing in the direction. There's so few films where there is no good guy, where the con man and the church are basically doing the same exact thing, just with a different coat of paint. And Daniel versus Eli is one of my favorite head-to-heads in film history. Just these two snake oil salesmen trying to own this town in their own devious little way. And faith is kind of the backdrop of There Will Be Blood. It's mostly following, Daniel's oil plot. But over in the background, you've got Eli forming his church and getting it bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it's an actual threat to Daniel when he has to make a move. And I love seeing that kind of church, the church of the West, the church of the frontier, where it went where the suffering was and it tried to own whatever it could. And people found power in that. People, preachers became kings of these towns because they were God. They spoke for God. And if you don't talk against God, because it's just great. And Paul Dano sells that so fucking beautifully.
Yeah.
It's an excellent movie. It's, without Elmer Gantry, this film doesn't exist, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think Paul Thomas Anderson has a lot to give to Burt Lancaster and Elmer Gantry alike. I don't have There Will Be Blood because I was like, I was like, let me do one PTA movie on my list. Otherwise,
Oh,
4 of them will be,
of course.
I would have had, well, I would have had 3. If I was really doing my favorites, I would have 3 PTA movies in my top 5. So I was like, let me do just one. So I chose a different one. But Jesus Christ, There Will Be Blood is, I like better than most of the movies on my list. It is the ultimate. My favorite thing about it is that it doesn't treat you like an idiot, but it also isn't confusing at all. It is very much, here's the American dream, and here's Christianity and religion getting in the way of it, and them colliding and realizing that, hey, we can actually make a partnership here, and it's still happening to this day. It's still very much very relevant and applicable to now, which is, I think, a good connector with First Reformed, where he's like, oh, in order to kind of be hush hush about stuff or get the people who are quote unquote good and have good belief and good values to get them to shut up, let's just feed them, get in their fucking pocket. Yeah. And I think, Daniel Plainview is like, I'm playing the game here. I'm gonna do this because it's ultimately gonna benefit me, and I'm gonna be the billionaire out of all this. I'll let the church kind of, be something I act like I'm helping out, like, oh, good. And then you have those little moments of whenever towards the beginning of the movie when they build their first oil rig on the Sunday's land, and he's like, well, allow me to do a prayer over the rig, over what you guys are doing. And Daniel Plainview doesn't let him do it, and he just goes straight to working and running it, and that ends up being this thing that, oh shit, do you believe in karma? Do you believe in if you don't bless something from the Lord that it's going to fail? Like those things they're on the nose, they're right in front of you, but they're executed so well. So I don't think this is PTA's most mysterious movie, but it's his best movie. Like There Will Be Blood is his best overall movie, where if you like film and you like the history of what this stuff is, and if you like music, Johnny Greenwood's score is one of the greatest ever. I think There Will Be Blood is just perfect. It's a true 10 out of 10 type movie, and it combines church and the American dream like just wonderfully. Very scary though.
Yeah. Well, I'm noticing like a trend in the films we've chosen are films that have really kind of shown, like, somewhere along the line the church like left God behind. Became a corporation. It's a and I like when shit like that's told. Like, we need to be reminded from time to time that these are not the institutions that care for us anymore. No one's feeding the poor. No one's like that's all done. Now it's just mega churches and shit, and it's just First Reform showed that especially well.
Yeah, it's great because you the idea of going to church, neat, with your family, it's neat. That's like cute and whatnot, if it were actually how it was. But really, the pastor is up there standing and he's like putting, there's a fucking basket going around the church that's for offering. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How does this guy get paid? Oh, he's taking our money so that he can, fair enough. It's a job, it's a fucking job. But coming to those realizations and actually talking about them and not just being like, well, this is what the Lord wants is my favorite. It's my favorite thing to bring those things to the forefront. I went through a phase where I was just straight up angry at religion and Christianity. Now I'm more kind of like, well, do what you got to do, but at least kind of stick by it, because there are things in the Bible that if you believe in them, they could probably make you a better person. There's some good stuff going on there as far as morale goes, but nobody really sticks by it. It always comes back to the Gandhi quote of, I love this idea of Christianity, but I hate Christians. That's like what it boils down to, is people fuck it up. And boy, There Will Be Blood is just one of my favorite movies that tackles a lot of that stuff. And is just Daniel Day-Lewis, like just doing his thing.
Yeah. I love watching all these people claim they know what God wants and either bites them in the ass or it makes them billionaires.
Yeah.
And if you know how to play that game, all the power to you. I wish I knew how to play that game. I feel like I would run a great cult, but I feel like I would. I bullshit people all the time. I don't get paid for it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Good shit. I'm glad you have that on your list. I'm very curious to hear what your number one is. My number two is a movie that I know you don't like, so we don't have to talk about it too long. It's The Tree of Life from 2011. Terrence Malick. Terrence Malick is a Christian. He's a man of faith, and it shows in his movies, whether it be Days of Heaven or Tree of Life or Knight of Cups. A Hidden Life. He very much likes to play into that stuff and think about what it is. How seriously are you supposed to take this stuff and live it out, teach your kids. It's really, really fascinating stuff. The Tree of Life, you could say that it's not really a faith-based movie, but it opens up with a verse, Job 38, 4-7. And in First Reformed, those are the exact verses that Ethan Hawke reads at the funeral for Michael, which I thought was really cool. Huh. It's like, oh, they both use Job 38. Job is a fascinating book in the Bible. If you like storytelling, I do think Job is like worth your time. I think the Bible has some books in it that are like, if you're able to separate that, hey, this might just be a story. I think there's some really cool stuff there.
I know the story of Job. I know that one.
It's great.
He's the guy who, like, God and Satan, they're like, hey, let's fuck with this guy until he picks a side.
Yeah, which is cool. That's cool as fuck. Like, it's dark, it's scary, it's weird. There's no way it actually happened. But we'll go with that. The Tree of Life, though, is also, I'm a sucker for it because of the cast. Brad Pitt, Jessica Chastain, Sean Penn. It's also based in Texas for a huge chunk of the movie. We have a family growing up in the late 50s in Waco, Texas. And I love the production design. I love the cinematography from Emmanuel Lubezki. I love the direction from Terrence Malick. And I very much recognize that it's up its own ass and very pretentious and is the definition of kind of an art film. But I fucking love it. It's really speaks to me. It doesn't really even make sense as a movie. It's just this weird experience, that I feel a lot of connection to. And my main thing about it is I can't believe how good it looks. When there's specific scenes that I love, like when Brad Pitt's so good in this movie. When they're at lunch, eating lunch at the table, and he just fucking, loses his mind and is like grabbing his kids. And it's like this old school 50s Southern type dad who's like, now Jesus would have it this way. It shows the problems of the typical American family through the 20th century. And I'm glad to see that some of that has changed over time. The acceptance of what your kids believe in and who they are, rather than telling them this is how it is. I love that scene when he goes to, after all the kids leave the table because they're like freaked out of their dad, and Jessica Chastain starts picking up the dishes at the table and is putting them away, and he's like, you fucking turned them on me, like you turned them on their own father. And she's like, I did no such thing. You did this. You did this. Because she's the forgiving, more what's the word? She's the more forgiving side of Christianity. That, hey, acceptance is okay. It's okay when a kid makes a mistake. And Brad Pitt is like he's the father. He's the the head honcho who's like, no, we will be in line.
She's New Testament. He's Old Testament.
Correct. That's how everybody's always seen it, is that he's the one who's stuck in old ways, and she's like, no, there are different ways to do this. Which is another fascinating thing about the Bible, is that there's these two contradicting testaments in one book, that at times in the Old Testament, these are parables and stories and stuff that tells you pretty much straight up how it is. And in the New Testament, there's some weird shit in there. If you ever read through Revelation, there's some weird stuff in there, and it'll change the way you think about this most popular religion in the world.
I always got the vibe that it was just like, like most people, God kind of mellowed out when he had kids. Yeah. Tree of Life, I did not like a second of this movie. I just found it to be boring as hell, and I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't know why, like halfway through, it's like Malick decided to just show the entire evolution of the planet.
Yeah, so cool.
But I have no issue with you loving the movie, because I like, one of my favorite things about you as a film fan and as a person is that you genuinely do love these movies.
Oh yeah, I was watching because I was like, should I have this? I was thinking about having There Will Be Blood as my 2 and another PTA as my number 1. And I was like, let me do just one PTA. And so I was like, well, what would take the spot? And I was watching videos on the Tree of Life, and I was like, you know what? It's okay. I love this movie. I understand it's fucking like kind of wacky as shit, but that's Malick, and I've always loved Terrence Malick. So one of my favorite Texan artists for sure, and his like battle with faith is relatable to me.
Yeah, I respect that. I'm glad it's not like, somebody said it was a classic, so you love it. That's the mentality I can't stand, and you're very much not that. So that's why.
Well, you too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't care what people think.
It's not really. And Tree of Life is like one of my favorite movies to read previews of, because it's so hit or miss. People are like on Letterboxd. It's so much fun to read that stuff. I also love reading Paul Thomas Anderson movie reviews on Letterboxd, because there's people who are like, get out of your ass, and then there's people who are like me, who are just like, this is fun as hell, and he just understands what filmmaking is, and I love that. That's the cool part of it, is these different opinions.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Okay. So I think is it my 1?
Yeah, we're to our number 1s. Yeah.
Okay. So this was the first movie really dealing with God that I ever saw. And it stuck with me my whole life and has become kind of my template for the way I approach religion. And that is 1979's Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Yes.
Or as Eric Idle once called it in a press junket, Jesus Christ, Lust for Glory.
I love it.
And this is a movie about the child who was born in the manger next to Jesus, a kid named Brian, who is mistaken for the Messiah and just doesn't want to deal with any of this shit. And is constantly trying to get out of it, but people won't leave him alone because people en masse do not think for themselves.
True.
It very much parodies the ancient Romans and the Bible and Pontius Pilate and these figures. And you see Jesus Christ just walking around in the background, doing his thing, and Brian is like, people are following him, and it's so clever and so funny, and was so banned. Like every religious institution was like, this movie's the devil, bury it. And ultimately, you can thank George Harrison for keeping this movie alive. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, he was like, this is a great idea. I'm going to help you produce this. And he's got a cameo in the movie. That's all he wanted. He was a Monty Python fan, and I love that.
And now it's a Criterion edition, movie.
Yeah, now it's one of the smartest religious films ever. A brilliant comedy, and it just such a fun movie. This is why I really have such a sarcastic view of religion, because I first learned about Jesus Christ through Monty Python. That mystery solved. That's peek behind the curtain. That's where it comes from.
Brilliant. God, that's a good pick. That wasn't on my radar, Good. You just gave me this movie. You gave me a Criterion edition back in December. That's great. It sits on my shelf. Great movie. I admire its dedication to setting kind of a template for how you can fuck with this stuff.
Yeah.
And still probably the best at it, like no movie has surpassed it as far as, comedy wise. This is kind of where you can turn to for this kind of stuff.
There's a character in this film who's a transgender man. And he's like, I want to have babies. And they're all like, well, that's interesting. And they support his decision. Like, this was 1979 in a film that takes place in biblical times. And you've got that, and you've just, it's ahead of its time in so many different ways. And I I admire Monty Python, that troupe, amazingly. And I mean, Holy Grail is probably their masterpiece, but an argument could be made for Life of Brian. It's like neck and neck for me.
I like Life of Brian better. Yeah. I think it's got more balls to it, but yeah, I think overall, I think in the great scheme of things, Holy Grail has always been kind of the one that people know about. But
it's easier to sell coconut horses than it is, fake Christ.
Correct. That's exactly right. So you gotta, those people who banned this movie over those years, for the past 40 years, people have not wanted people to see this. Whereas Holy Grail has never really gone through something like that. So that's a big deal. So if you know, it's that kind of a movie. Great pick. Awesome. Can you guess what my number one is?
I have a feeling.
The Master, 2012. I could have put Magnolia here. The movie's messing with Freemasonry and Christianity a lot. Of course, There Will Be Blood. But I think the one of PTA's movies that is masterfully tackling the subject of religion is The Master. It is unbelievable what he got PSH and Joaquin to do, just putting them head to head in these situations of, this naval veteran who stumbles onto a ship. The ship happens to be, basically run by Lancaster Dodd, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's the leader of the Cause, which is basically Scientology. And watching those two kind of figure each other out, and the relationship of a master to, someone that's like the apprentice. It's fucking cool as shit, watching those two of my favorite performers of all time. And PTA is like way ahead of his game, just destroying in this movie. So committed to his goal. So all those things are going for it, right? But the religious stuff is like fucking hilarious to me. Like there's moments in this movie that make me laugh so hard just because of how committed it is, how dedicated it is to kind of poking at stuff like this, poking at cults. And I respect PTA so much for this movie because you could make a comedy out of this, but he decided to no, these people are serious. Like this is a self-serious movie. These people are actually going for it here, Amy Adams is like, this isn't fashion, this is something you're either in or you're out, this isn't something that just lasts for a little while, it lasts forever. But that's not meant to be a comedic line. That's meant to be really serious, and it is. And that's why it makes me laugh, because like these fucking people, there's people like this everywhere who hone in on something so ridiculous. And I think The Master, not only is it shouting out, Scientology, but I think it's shouting out all religions and all those kind of crazy ideologies that just when you look at them and put them on paper, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And even within the movie later on, when Laura Dern comes up to PSH, comes up to Lancaster, and she's like, well, what happened? And he's like, this is the book now. This is what we do now. This is the way, and she's like, well, you just changed it out of nowhere. You kind of changed your entire philosophy with one book, with one sentence. And he's like, well, fuck off. Like,
what do you want from me?
Yeah. That's when you realize this is a guy who's making shit up on the fly. I love when his son says that. Jesse Plemons, his son, is like, he just makes this shit up as it goes, right? Like, and Joaquin Phoenix is like, no, it's not. There's no way. Like, this guy's a genius. There's so many great moments in this movie, and PTA and Johnny Greenwood, like these guys are just the masters of their craft, and it's probably always going to be my favorite PSH performance. I've never fallen in love with somebody so fast, on screen like PSH as a kid. And as I've gotten older, it's just gotten stronger, and this is, to me, his masterpiece as far as performing goes. I think there's a handful that you could point to, but I've always connected with this one. It's like, there's no one else in Hollywood that could have done that. No one else. So you could say the same about Joaquin. They're both amazing. So I love this movie. I love what it does, how it pokes at religion, not just one, but kind of does like the South Park thing where it's like everybody's up for grabs. We're gonna poke at everything in a general way, but also keep it honed in on a story, and that's just great storytelling.
It is a brilliant movie that, I mean, Anderson clearly believed in it. I mean, it destroyed his working relationship with Tom Cruise forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I love how this film shows both sides of it. We get to see Joaquin's character find the cause and believe in Lancaster Dodd and, think this is gospel. And then we also get to see him realize he's completely full of shit and he's been had. Yes. And I love that part where he's like, this is no prophet. This guy's a shitty writer who is good at manipulating people. And I can't imagine realizing that this movement you've devoted your life to, waking up one day and finding out you've been lied to and it's bullshit. And what do you do after that? Like, how do you pick the pieces up and find something else? Like, how do you find the next step in that? And I mean, he doesn't really. Like, Joaquin just kind of like, that was it. But there are people out there who wake up and like, you, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
You woke up and I'm sure you had to have a moment of like, fuck. And
sure. For sure. Yeah. This is tomfoolery. This is blasphemy. Yeah. I definitely had that. I was 17 or I was 18. So like my whole life up until then, it was something I in some capacity believed in. I believed in, and that's Christianity, not Scientology. Definitely. Grew up, grew up in Texas, grew up going to church, going to not just private school, but a Christian school where we had Bible class, and every Wednesday we had chapel. And I believed it to be true so much that I moved to another country for it. I thought that my purpose in life was to teach other people about God and to share some sort of light that I had inside of me with other people around the world. And so I moved to Romania at 17, and about a year into being there, I literally snapped. I literally had a moment of like, I don't want to be disrespectful and say that I was like possessed, but a part of me was, and a part of me really like took it too seriously. And those are the people that I think are kind of being made fun of in The Master, is like, really, you're really going to stand, you're going to die on this hill. This is what you're going for. It's not just something that you're kind of, grappling with. You're like, no, this is it, and fuck everything else. Like, this is what we believe in. The cause is everything. Like, really, you realize you only have one life, right? Like, you're going to die one day and you're going to regret that you didn't explore how vast this world is and how many different ideas and how many brilliant people there are out there. I don't know. It's crazy.
Your prophet's going to be a shitty writer who screams pig fuck at people who disagree with him.
Yeah. I love that scene because that guy's like, this is horseshit. You pig fuck. Yeah. There's just stuff like that. That's like, it's funny, but in the movie, it's not funny. Like, this is very serious. And this guy, like Philip Seymour Hoffman, is red. He's turned completely red and wants to strangle this guy. That shit is the best. It's so good. Yeah, I could go on about this movie forever. We did an episode on it,
yeah.
not that long ago. So I know we both really connect with this one and There Will Be Blood. Those are, to me, as a filmmaker, if you have those two under your belt, it's like, wow. Hats off to you. That's PTA. He's my favorite guy, and I wanted to limit. I could have had Magnolia, The Master, and There Will Be Blood 1, 2, 3, but I was like, let's share the love.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. Gave us an opportunity to talk about more films, but I should have known The Master was. Yeah,
so good. Oh man, the first time I saw it, I didn't really get it because I was still in it. I was 17 when I saw this movie in theaters. In fact, I was with my oldest brother and one of his friends from that he lived with in College Station. This is, my brother's 4 or 5 years older than me. So he was, 21, 22, and I was 17. And I had come back from Romania I was here for like 2 weeks as like a trip to come back. I had to renew my license because I turned 18. And that was part of my, ID when I was in Romania. So I had to come back and like take a new picture and all that stuff. So I came back. I was like, let's just go back for a couple weeks. And I went and visited my brother in College Station for like a weekend. And the friend was like, let's go see this movie. It looks really weird. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. I've always loved movies at least, but when I watched it in theaters, I was like, this is dumb as shit. I was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. And then I came back from Romania altogether, and I watched it again after becoming a huge PTA fan. And I was like, oh my God, this is a masterpiece. This like is singing to me. And it's just grown on me since, love that shit.
Dude, I am just thankful every day that you woke up. Because I don't think I ever would have gotten along with you.
No, I wouldn't have. Yeah, we wouldn't have met. We wouldn't have met.
We wouldn't have met. And you know what? You did have a light, and you shared it with me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I've found. Instead of being angry about what happened to me or that my parents did this, it's not my parents' fault. It's not. I'm not going to blame anything on them. I think they did what they thought they had to do.
Yeah.
And now when I have conversations with my parents, they're like, I'm sorry. We should have let you go to public school. We should have not pushed church on you so much. And it's like, that's all that really matters is growing, and realizing that it's not for everybody, that a child should be able to kind of choose what they want to do. I'm not saying that like a 5-year-old should do heroin, but if a 12-year-old is like, hey mom, I don't want to go to church anymore, I think you should honor that.
I'm just thankful that my family got the hell out of the Mormon faith before I showed up, because there was a good chunk, like a good 5-6 years where we were Mormons. And you
dodged that bullet.
Oh my God. I'm constantly reminding my family, like, y'all were Mormons. Like, don't forget that.
Do you realize that? Y'all are fucking weird.
The more I learn about them, I'm like, my family was in this fucking cult. And I'm so glad they woke up. But yeah, it's, I was raised entirely out of any kind of organized religion. And it's given me the opportunity to create my own code, my own way of thinking, my own views on life and death. And I'm very thankful for that. And it's shown me that, you don't need God to be a moral person.
Correct. Yeah.
I especially these days, I find myself resenting the church more and more.
Likewise. Yeah. Which is my favorite part of the movie we're going to be talking about more, is First Reformed, is that you get so angry in this movie when you meet Ed Bulk at that diner. You're like, fuck this guy and everything that he stands for and what he represents. That's why it's such a powerful scene. You have Cedric the Entertainer as Pastor Jeffers, which he does a great job in this movie. You have Ed Bulk, you have Ethan Hawke, you have these minds that are not on the same page at all. That's why First Reformed is so good and why I want to talk about it more. So how close is this to your top 5? Is it a movie you thought about, or do you need to see it maybe more? Or maybe it's fucking weird.
It's good, but not really in my my faith-based film archive.
Okay.
I just have to have more. Yeah. I don't know what to say, but it's more just like, I like this movie. I think it could go another 20 minutes or so. I think there's more to this story than we got. So
okay.
I want more. I realized that on this watch. I'm like, I could keep going.
Oh, definitely. I could definitely keep going. I do think it's pretty minimalistic, and it's not just its, setting of New York. It's kind of just feels kind of damp and frigid there.
It's New York.
It's the costumes, everything everybody's wearing is very just basic and plain, black, brown, white. The music is always just kind of just droning, vroom, vroom, vroom. It's never kind of goes to a crescendo. It just kind of stays on the ground. And I love that about it. I love how it's just kind of patient and lets itself breathe. But I'm with you. I think it goes another 15, 20 minutes and we get more from that ending. I think it could get even better.
And as we saw with the films I picked for my top 5, I like a more skewering, critique of organized religion. I like more of a mockery instead of a kind of hand holding. And this film is very much like, is it bad or is like, are we sure? Like,
yeah.
I want more of a like, fuck this place. And we get a bit of that towards the end, but not nearly as much as I wanted.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's dive in. Let's dive into our awards for it. We have the Quentin Tarantino Award for the best quote of the movie, which is some great stuff. We have the Ennio Morricone Award for the best music moment. This is the scores by Lustmord, this kind of very specific artist who deals with certain sounds that are, they almost, if you're not in the right headspace, they could put you to sleep. But if you're watching First Reformed, you're like, holy shit. The Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for Best Performance. I don't think there's any doubts where that's going. And the Roger Deakins Award for the best scene of the movie. So I'll let you talk about your favorite quote of the movie, your Tarantino.
Mine comes from like the first 3 minutes of the movie. And that doesn't usually happen. But I heard this line and I thought, God damn, that is a beautiful line. And it's when Toller's talking about this project he's doing with the journal. And he says, when writing about oneself, one should show no mercy.
I have the same thing.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I love that for the opening. I have decided to keep a journal, not in a word program or a digital file, but in longhand, writing every word out so that every infection of penmanship, every word chosen, scratched out, revised, is recorded. To set down all my thoughts and the simple events of my day factually without hiding anything. When writing about oneself, one should show no mercy. I will keep this diary for 1 year, 12 months. And at the end of that time, it will be destroyed, shredded, then burnt. The experiment will be over. You're like, what am I watching? It's such a brilliant opening bit of dialogue.
Well, I love the whole, like, when this is over, it will be shredded, it will be burnt. Like, what? Like, what? Yeah. What is this? But I love that idea of, like, when you're writing about yourself, be honest. Don't bullshit. Don't, this is you on you. It's got to be honest or there's going to be no point in this.
Yeah. Attack. Yeah.
And I love that because I've always kind of had that in my back pocket as like a personal philosophy of like, be honest, because why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I agree. I love that just in life. I've learned to be that way, to be kind of not necessarily, it doesn't need to be hard on myself, but I need to look in the mirror constantly and constantly be like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And especially if you're writing, because if you're trying to like do an exercise that's therapeutic, it's like, well, go there, go the full, 100 yards. Don't just take it easy. So I love how it sets the tone for the movie. And Ethan Hawke narrating is like sublime. I never would have thought that, before seeing this movie, I would have been like, Ethan Hawke's not the guy for this, I didn't think he had it really in him, even though I'm a huge fan. But when he opens the movie up with that and his writing, and you see kind of the glass of whiskey, which becomes kind of this thing that kind of is in the back of his head, it's so good. It's just a brilliant way to open this movie and kind of tell you what kind of tone it's going to be.
Yeah. The glass of whiskey that becomes the bottle of whiskey.
Yes. Yep.
That's well, interesting that we both went to that. That's cool.
Yeah. I love that opening bit. I love the way he says infection of penmanship, every word chosen, scratched out, revised, is recorded. You're like, God damn.
There is something so much more primal and therapeutic to writing longhand. I don't know what it is about that, but it just feels more like it's coming directly from you. There is no middleman like there is with a computer. It's you and then thoughts. And I love that. So you don't have time to edit. Your hand's almost moving on its own.
Yeah, and there's fatigue. Like your hand gets tired as the further you go. When you type, that doesn't really happen. It can, but not as quickly as longhand. And we all have our own writing, which is like such a beautiful thing. So watching Ethan Hawke's actual penmanship as he's saying these things, yeah, it's such a great way to open the movie. I love that bit. Good choice. Good choice.
Same.
I do think from that whole paragraph, that line, when writing about oneself, one should show no mercy, is the most powerful. So you could just take that on its own and talk about it forever.
A runner up I did have is when Toller's being kind of interrogated by Cedric the Entertainer, who I still can't believe is in this.
Yeah.
And they're talking about climate change, and Ethan Hawke just straight up says, like, "Will God forgive us for what we've done to his creation?" Like,
yeah.
Ouch. It's a good question. If you believe in God, you are shitting on his favorite place every day just by letting the horrible shit happen. So, like, I don't know, maybe rethink the way you live your life.
Yeah. Stop being the fucking money grubbing whore. Mr. Cedric the Entertainer. He's great. Joel Jeffers is a great character. I love when, again, they're at the diner. Probably my runner up for the Tarantino would be Ethan Hawke. He's narrating again in his own head, but he's also talking. It's a great scene with Ed Balk and Jeffers. And he says, "The man who says nothing always seems more intelligent. Why couldn't I just keep more silent?" You're like, oh man.
Because he does, like, his lines, like, his dialogue sounds so disconnected. Like he's just spouting conspiracy theories. And he sounds like a crazy person. But
yes.
He really does know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's a brilliant scene. Yeah, I love that shit. Well, Ennio Morricone, what'd you pick for the best music moment?
Music moment I have, the bit of score is called Testament.
Okay.
It's when Toller is researching suicide bombers, and he takes the vest out of the box, and you start thinking, like, why does he still have that? And then he starts Googling videos, and we're like, oh shit. We start connecting the dots of, like, oh, he's unwell. He's terminal. He's interested in suicide bombers. He's got a bomb. There's a big event happening. Fuck. And the music is just this, like you said, this drone. Like, it's almost like a horror score of just, like, just in and out. And I thought that was very impressive. The score is very minimal, but well, like, it's placed very well.
Yeah, it reminds me of a lot of the A24 horror movies that have happened, where it's like, okay, well, at least the score fit what was happening, even if it was kind of the same thing over and over.
Yeah,
it works. I think a lot of the stuff that's happening in The Northman, in The Witch, those movies, Robert Eggers movies, it like makes sense to, like, what's going on. It doesn't have a lot of peaks and valleys, but it's like it fits exactly with what we're seeing. And I think First Reform is on that same boat. Mine's called Awakening. The bit of score, it's when Mary and Toller do that. They do that, like, physical intimacy exercise, and they start floating, and they're going over the universe, and you're like, what is this? Like, what's happening? And it's you could pick anything of the score from this. I love that bit that you chose because of that moment of, oh my God, he has the vest in his home where he lives. Yikes.
I was expecting you to go with the Neil Young protest song Eulogy.
That was great. Yeah. That's good. That would be a good pick. Yeah. I love that. I love when Ed Balk's like, fucking Neil Young. They know exactly what they're doing. It's a political act. Yeah. Oh, that was so good. Yeah. Yeah. There's not a lot of music outside of, there's not a lot of Neil drops in this movie. So you really have to go with either Neil Young, people singing it at a wake, or this crazy score by Lustmord.
And I was considering the in the ending, the hymn that's playing as the events of Toller's, like, last moments, as we assume, are playing out. I thought that was good. But it's something about the drone and the suicide, but it started making me think, like, they're right there. That little bit is like someone kind of hid a horror movie in here. I like that. I like when I can find little bits of horror outside of the genre. It always makes me smile.
Yeah, and I think Paul Schrader is good at writing people who are obviously just kind of isolated and can't figure out their place in the world. Obviously, Taxi Driver is like the movie you point to for that. I think it shows throughout his movies. One of my favorites is Light Sleeper with Willem Dafoe, where Willem Dafoe has these moments of just narrating, and he's just kind of looking around the streets of New York, like, well, like, what am I doing, and what are these people doing? What the fuck are we all doing? And I love that about him. I think he's so good at that exact craft of talking about people not having a place and how scary that is, but also how realistic it is. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, it is. It's whenever, you get disillusioned about the world, you have dark thoughts. I mean, you might not act on them, but they creep in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. That ending, when we do see Ethan and Amanda, Mary and Ernst, when they hug, when they embrace and they kiss. Yeah. Ernst is a great name. When they kiss, I think it's called "Are You Washed in the Blood?" Are you washed?
Yeah,
it's just really creepy, and it's also the lady that used to be his lover singing it. It's just a really creepy, fucked up scene that could have been even more fucked up, had he gone through with everything. So, Jesus Christ.
That real quick aside, that hymn is sung by John Lithgow in one of my favorite episodes of Dexter, because he plays the Trinity killer, who's this like super prolific murderer, been killing like hundreds of people for decades, but he's also secretly a very devoted family man and a church deacon. So when Dexter hunts him down, he sees him like sing that hymn at the church, and it's like, how is he compartmentalizing all of this identity in that head? Like, church deacon, father, like 100-time murderer. And it's, so I have dark connotations with that song.
Good. That's great. It's always fun when a hymn is turned into, like a song from Satan. It's great. That's the best character of that show, John Lithgow. In my opinion,
He was so goddamn scary. But yeah, hymns are creepy.
Yeah, they very much can be. Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. Come on. As
enjoyable as I did find Cedric the Entertainer, this is Ethan Hawke's movie, and Hawke we trust.
Yeah. Yeah. He's lights out. He carries the thing. There's not really anybody else who has nearly the amount of screen time. Amanda Seyfried's good as Mary. Minstana. I like Philip Edinger, the guy who plays Michael, who kills himself. Everybody's good in the movie, but Ethan Hawke is great, and it's a showcase for him. It's his best performance ever. I think he's never had to do anything like this, where he has this much to chew on and this minimalist style film with great writing. And he just, we're like rooting for him, but we're also like, dude, you've lost your mind, like there's something about Ethan that always has this kind of just all American type, like, I hope he does okay, and then he's crazy in this movie. So you kind of have to recollect with that,
Well, it's also just the weight on this guy's shoulders. I mean, throughout the whole movie, I mean, he's got, a child, he lost his child. So he's got that hanging over him. This church, like he's, the minister of a tourist church nobody goes to. He's not respected. There's that. This mega church is like planning a thing that they clearly don't want him to be involved with. There's that. The person he's trying to help commit suicide, and he finds the body. So there's the guilt of that. There's the feelings he has towards the wife. There's that. And then the terminal illness. And it's just, and then all the climate change stuff he gets sucked into. It's like, how does he not pop? I mean, the weight of all of that shit, of course he's going to snap and react to it. And I love the moments of like, here's this, and there's this, and there's this. It's like one of those videos where somebody keeps putting like 100 rubber bands around a watermelon and then it finally crushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. I think one of my favorite subtle moments of like his character development is when the guy who plays the organ goes to the trash can and sees like 3 bottles of whiskey, and he's like, huh. It's just like, this guy's fucking getting lit, at First Reformed. I love that, how it goes. I love how this movie develops. It just, you don't really know how much time has passed, but you don't really need to, because it's just moving like real life. And yeah, I think it's masterful in that way. And I wish Paul Schrader would have been up for Best Director, because I think he did a great job of kind of leading this movie to where it needs to go.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I think it's pretty obvious that Ethan Hawke is our guy, right, for the PSH. No taking away from him. One of my favorite things about Ethan Hawke in saying that he won the PSH is that there's an argument, and I think you might be the guy who could make the argument best, is that Philip Seymour Hoffman's best performance is alongside Ethan Hawke and Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Yeah.
That is like watching Ethan Hawke staring at God. He's like, you thought he got overshadowed in Training Day. Just wait till you see that movie. PSH is going for it.
Jesus Christ. The performance in that movie shows why he's on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest actors of all time. I've never seen a more powerful, like, 5-minute scene in anything I've ever watched. I'm in awe of that, just that bit of him screaming at his father. Oh my God. Yeah. Straight up. That movie, I wish that had been up for anything so we could do it.
I know.
Yeah.
So frustrating. And I believe that's directed by Sidney Lumet, right?
Yeah. I think it was his last movie.
I think it was. Yeah. Before he left. Like, what the fuck? How is that not up for anything?
12 Angry Men to Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. That's a career. Goddamn.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I love that. Sometimes when I say, if I hear someone say it's not fair, I just think of PSH. It's not fair, just screaming. You're like, I can't handle it. And the content within the movie about his character dealing with what he's dealing with. So, yeah, go see that movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. That movie fucking rules, and is a big reason why we have this award named the PSH. Even though it wasn't an Oscar nominated or winner, it's one of the ones, like you said, puts him on a special place, a certain Mount Rushmore with the greats. So Ethan Hawke's in that movie with him. They're brothers, which is crazy. Like, what the fuck? So it's cool to see. This might be the only time we ever give Ethan Hawke this award. So, very cool. Very cool to kind of have that respect paid. The Roger Deakins Award for the best scene of the movie. This was pretty tough, but I've seen this movie a handful of times now, and when I started it up this time, I knew right away. It's pretty quick in the movie, but I knew right away. How about you?
It took me a while. I had to, I ultimately went with the pretty much the entire ending, from putting on the vest to making out with Mary, and that whole bit is so full of almosts. It's like, when is the other shoe going to drop? What's going to happen here? Is he going to kill all these people? Is he going to just, drink a cup of Drano and take himself out? Like, what's going to happen here? And ultimately, nothing. Like, he succumbs to his baser instincts and makes out with the widow. And then we kind of just end. But I'm like, fuck, that was... The fuse almost went right into the bomb there. Like, Christ, it's some powerful almost. And just when he's like wrapping himself in barbed wire. Oh, it's just like, what is happening right now? Like, did he just wander in from another movie? Like, it's freaky. And then, Cedric's trying to find him. It's like, what's he going to find? Is he going to find the bomb? Is he going to find a dead Toller? Like, and then Mary shows up. It's just full of like, oh my God. Like, so many moments of like, like shit. Yeah. It's great. Yeah, it really is. It's really a crazy finale that could have kept going. I don't know, and is pretty unclear about what exactly it means. And I've
I got to know what stuff means sometimes, in movies, especially if I really like them. And with
Telling
this
me.
movie, with this movie, I was like, yeah. With this movie, I was like, I need to know, like, what happened? And Paul Schrader has even said, there's two ways that could go. There's two ways you could look at it. He's like, and I don't know. It depends what you want to look at it. He's like, she shows up. He realizes he, is making a mistake, and that all he needs is her love to continue on. So there's something beautiful about acceptance with another person. And so they kiss and the movie ends. He's like, the other way could be that he does commit suicide, and that death is so beautiful that it feels like kissing somebody. And I was like, oh,
ouch.
God. And that's coming from the guy who wrote the movie. This is an original screenplay. This is directly from his mind. And so you're like, oh, okay. So it's either kind of nice and good. And, you realize that life is okay if you have somebody to, appreciate you, at least one person, or it's that he does drink the Drano and he's dead. And that is like purgatory. It's like a dream state that he's in, of like, I don't know what's going on. And the kiss is, and a lot of people read that as, okay, you're saying that's the real ending, because why would you even bring that up? It's fucked up. It's some fucked up shit.
So basically, he's just telling us, like, do you think the glass is half empty or half full? Like,
yeah.
Do you want it to be it could be a happy ending, or it could be the bleakest ending you've ever heard of. It's entirely up to you and how you feel about this. I like that.
I do too. And that's not, Paul Schrader is not like a fun writer. He's not like, ooh, life is great. It's very gritty. Yeah.
He did kind of exactly that with Taxi Driver.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again.
Exactly. I think he's in love with the idea of a story never ending, that you can always think about it. It's always open-ended. Yeah. It's not like we beat them, it's over. We beat the bad guys and it's over. It's very much, it's ambiguity, and I appreciate that about him. But I'm with you. I think that whole bit, or maybe right leading up to that bit, could have been longer, or could have been more. I don't even know how to explain it, but I do agree with you that, like, this movie does probably have more in the tank, and maybe just kind of stop. Maybe that's a good thing, though. Sometimes movies prolong their stay, and you're like, okay, you could have cut 20 minutes off that thing. But First Reformed, I think, is playing both sides of the fence there.
Yeah. I don't know what's worse, like a movie that outstays its welcome or a movie that leaves too soon. I don't know.
I've always been a fan of Leave Too Soon, because I think we've seen that happen with art before. Specifically, I think like a great TV show, when you have a huge amount of time to make your story, I think it's very important to, like Breaking Bad's 60 episodes. The Sopranos is a lot more. And I think there are later stages in the Sopranos where it's like, all right, let's fucking wrap this thing up. Breaking Bad is like, no, don't leave me. It's like, you get to those last 3 episodes and you're like, this is going to be over. I do think that, like, it's very possible. I think Dexter was like, all right, let's wrap this shit up. Like, let's fucking go. It stays too long. And so you kind of have this weird taste in your mouth about the ending or the last couple seasons or whatever. And that sucks. And I think movies can do the same thing.
I see it in TV all the time. I don't see it very often in film.
Yeah.
Well, film's a lot more of a singular vision. There's
correct. Yeah.
You've got a lot more running, for it. You've got a lot more people projecting their own ideas onto just this one thing. So I get why film doesn't see that very often, but yeah, I feel like First Reformed, I could have used another 20 minutes, maybe some fallout, some kind of aftermath deal. Like, did the fear win out, or did he realize, like, there is hope? And
yeah,
like, did God put her there to save him?
Yeah, I love those thoughts. Yeah, I think there's endless, things to talk about with those two characters of him and Mary, of what is her role in his life and what is it going to be moving forward? Do they move very far away and get the hell out of where they're at, and move to fucking Sweden or something, and that there's something kind of cool about that that they probably could have done, but leaving it like that is dark. It leaves it up to interpretation, which is also, is part of the art form. And yeah, I love that. I love that about this movie, that it could go both ways. It could, good ending, but it could have been more, and I think that's a sign of a movie that leaves you wanting. That's a good thing. Great pick though with your Deacons. I think that finale is something, something else. Watching him with the barbed wire is like such a crazy image. I've never seen that before. I've never seen a person put barbed wire like on, not just kind of a play with the idea, but actually show it happening, and him bleeding all over the place was really effective. And then when he puts the robe on and you can see it through the white, it's like, wow, it's a powerful image.
Yeah, wonder how they pulled that off.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to ever do anything like that. I'm such a fucking baby when it comes to stuff like that. When it comes to pain. Thank you. Go ahead.
I just thinking like, Ethan Hawke did not wrap himself in barbed wire. Like that's not what happened.
Way, right? There's no way.
I love how we're both kind of not entirely sure.
Yeah, I'm not because it looks incredible. It's like, this looks far too real. And maybe Ethan was like, fuck it, I'm going for the Oscar. It didn't work out. This is my only chance. I'm working with Paul Schrader in this weird movie. So good. My Deacons comes early in the movie. It's the first time we meet Michael, and really the only time we meet Michael. And it's when Ethan Hawke goes to Mary and Michael's house because he wants to just spill this shit to somebody that might care. And it is heavy. It's a heavy fucking scene. And you can look the stuff up that he's saying, and it's all true, It's a very well researched, well thought out scene, and watching these two guys kind of go back and forth, and not necessarily in a hostile way. Ethan Hawke is like, "Fuck, this guy's bringing up some amazing stuff." I love when Michael says, "The bad times they will begin," and from that point, everything moving is going to move forward very quickly. The social structure that we have cannot bear the stress of multiple crises, opportunistic diseases, anarchy, martial law, the tipping point. And this isn't some distant future. You and I will live to see this. It's like, God damn. He keeps talking about all this stuff that's going to happen by 2050. And he's like, you'll be 81. He's like, my child will be 32 years old, which is a year younger than I am now. And it's just like really, really well thought out dialogue, well written, and again, well researched. Michael is a fascinating character that we only get a little bit of time with. I love when he says, "Are you a drinking man, Reverend?" and Ethan Hawke says, "It does not help." It's like, yeah, you are. You're a fucking alcoholic.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the kind of demons different people have. Some people worry about the devil, some people worry about climate change, and they can have the same effect on your psyche if that's what you truly believe is going to kill you and destroy everything that you love. And can you blame the guy? He's got pretty good research, and yeah, that's going to happen. We're all going to have to deal with that. But would you how do you deal with it now? And he didn't deal with it in a very healthy way.
No. And I can't blame him. I think this is scary stuff, and it's very real. And we can sit here and, move on with our podcast or whatever. But like you said, this is real life. These things that he's spouting out are not just, it's not just bullshit. It's not just hogwash. It's real stuff that's happening to the place we live. And you and I, there's not much we can do other than take care of ourselves, take care of the little bit of decision making we have when it comes to the environment. Do your best, recycle, do those different things. Try not to just fucking throw shit to the ocean, throw shit on the ground. Be a good citizen. But it's up to the industries and the powers that be to care about this, and they don't. And they haven't for forever. It's a big game to keep putting money back in their pocket. And that's no secret. If it's no secret, then why aren't churches doing anything about it. And that's why this movie is so powerful to me.
Yeah. You know, George Carlin said a lot about the illusion of choice we have in America. How, you know, political party doesn't matter, that everything's going to happen politically has been planned out. Like we have no real agency in this country. And he said that the only real choice Americans actually have on a daily basis is paper or plastic. And I take that to heart. I'm like, that's fucked up, but true.
Yeah. Thank you for being honest. Yeah.
So like, if there's a certain freedom that comes in knowing everything's going to be fucked no matter what. It's like, well, then just do right by you and yours. Like,
yeah,
love what you can, love a lot, do a lot, and make sure people remember you.
Yeah. Yeah. We're seeing some crazy things right now, we're just yesterday, because we're recording this on Saturday. I think it was yesterday that one of the most insane things that could happen to human beings happened, dealing with abortion. And it makes you question everything around you, and then you realize, oh, I'm still like a person. I still have to like get around. Oh yeah, gas is $5 minimum, around the country, and you're like, oh, I want to feel bad for these people that are victims of a mass shooting, but I can't even swim through my own stuff. It's like there's so much wrong that you just get lost, and you don't have empathy anymore. You're like, I don't know how to feel. I'm desensitized to everything because it's all fucking annoying and it's all bad. It's all evil. And you're like, where are the people that should be helping us? Like, where are the people who have money? Oh, they're just continuing to feed their own people, and not care about everybody else. And it's just a big, huge game that we're just pawns in. So I appreciate George Carlin's fucking honesty, that you don't really have a say. You're just like an ant. A big, huge game. It's sad. It's fucking sad.
Fuck, man.
This is why we talk about movies, because there's just like a little bit of hope in. Let me talk about something I like, because I can't handle everything else. I don't want to think about it. It's because it's just like an endless cycle.
I find hope in art. That's where I go for.
That's it. Yeah.
Creative escape, for social escape, for just to live somewhere else for just a little bit, to just forget that everything is so irreparably destroyed in this country. And yeah, man. And then I watch movies like this and I'm like, fuck, why you reminded me of this? I'm here to get out of this.
That's the best, is when you're going to escape and you're like, oh shit, this just hit me like a ton of bricks, because it's applicable. It's a timeless kind of movie that this kind of stuff has been true forever, and it's going to continue to be true. So there's no other way but to just keep distracting yourself. For me anyway, that's just the best way. I'll do what I can, but there's not a lot I can do. So I'm not going to act like me going up with a cardboard sign that says, abortion's bad. I like none of that, or that, I'm pro-choice, like that. Those things don't, like, it doesn't matter what I do. It just doesn't matter. But I'll always share empathy with the people I know, the people that I am around, my family, my wife and my daughter. I always say sorry to them that they have to be women in this place, because that, Lord knows, that's a pain in the ass right now.
Feels like Sisyphus just pushing the fucking rock up the hill every single
day.
They're just watching it roll down and going back and starting the whole process over again. We've been like that since day one. There's been no real actual change in this country. It's sad and it's dark, and I'm reminded of it every single day. And every time I want to have optimism, more shit happens that takes that away.
Yeah, and you're on your phone and you're like, I gotta get off my phone, because everywhere I look it's like pure evil. It's just things that are straight from hell. And that's a crazy realization to have. So I'm very aware that watching stuff over and over, and watching movies and whatever in art, is merely a distraction, that it's a thing that I have to do for my own sanity, I'm okay with that. I've totally accepted that. And I'm going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing these podcasts because it helps us. It's like therapy. It's like, at least I have this to go to for conversation that isn't just fucked up,
Yeah, man. God damn. I got to watch something funny.
Yeah. I'm definitely after, I watched Hustle last night with Adam Sandler, the Netflix movie. And I was like, this is nice. This is nice to just watch a movie star that I love doing stuff that I like. And I love basketball. So it made me happy for a good 2 hours. And then it ended and I looked at my phone and I was like, oh yeah, I live in the United States of America. Holy shit.
God damn.
Tough stuff.
Yeah. First Reformed.
Thank you. First Reformed. Yeah.
Suddenly Michael's making a lot more sense.
What'd you say?
Suddenly Michael's making a lot more sense.
Yeah. Michael is like we should have listened to him. And the whole argument that he has about not bringing a child into the world, nothing wrong with it at all. I have a child. I thought about that for sure. It's like, do I really want to expose another human being to all of this? And I still haven't, it's still something you grapple with all the time. The world is overpopulated anyway, and it's like, how do we keep bringing people into this place that's just not suited for people? It's crazy. It's a really fucked up thing to think about, but I love my daughter so much, and she gives me a tremendous amount of purpose and joy. So I got to be thankful for that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. She's hope.
Yeah. Well, I hope I've told my family a lot. I hope when she's my age that it's a little bit better. I really do. That might be stupid to think. I might be naive, but I have to.
Well, hopefully, one day when she's podcasting with my one day child, they'll be having this same conversation, or hopefully not. Maybe things will be a little more optimistic.
Yeah, maybe First Reformed won't make any sense in 30 years. It'll be like, oh, church is great. The church helps everybody. Yeah. Doubt it. Oh, it's great. Let's look at the one category that First Reformed was nominated for at the 91st Academy Awards. This is a fascinating ceremony, so we'll talk a little bit about other stuff, but we got to go to original screenplay. The winner was Green Book. The Favorite was nominated. First Reformed, Roma, and Vice. You got some big time people in this category. Green Book is, of course, the Best Picture winner, so it also took home this. That's a great 1-2 to take home. Also, Mahershala Ali for playing Don Shirley. So that movie did really well. I don't think it should have won screenplay. There's no way. These other movies have a lot more to offer to the art form, I think. I think my favorite would probably be Roma. Probably be my vote. I think Vice is great. Favorite is so weird and so out there, but I do think ultimately Roma, Alfonso Cuarón, it's such like a fucking grounded movie about someone that it's so personal. I think personal is the best, so I'd go with that for my vote.
It is a bit of a surprise that Roma didn't win this. I figured that was the shoe-in.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I guess. And for Best Picture, but I guess, the Oscars weren't ready to give a foreign film Best Picture yet.
Yeah, one more year. Yeah.
give it a little bit longer. I'm going to give it, I think, probably to Vice. I have a soft spot for that film. I don't think it's not perfect, but it is. I mean, it was difficult to make a film that about such recent history that's still raw for a lot of people. And but I thought that the way this film showed Dick Cheney's influence on modern politics was really smart, really layered, really like nuanced at times, but also did not shy away from the fact that he is a colossal piece of shit.
Yeah.
So Adam McKay has become one of my favorite filmmakers. So I definitely would love to give him the win.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I also think it's just, we're both in the same boat that it's crazy that Christian Bale lost to Rami Malek. It's just Fucking bonkers. So that category, best actor, you take out Rami Malek and you put Ethan Hawke in, and then you have Ethan Hawke, Christian Bale, Bradley Cooper, Willem Dafoe, and Viggo Mortensen. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I like
that's a good group right there. You know, I like a lot of the wins from this this ceremony, but there's just some big ones. Like I don't think Green Book should have won Best Picture. Rami Malek, Mahershala Ali is good in that, but I'd probably go Sam Elliott for Stars Born. I love that Regina King won. I love that Olivia Colman won. Those are cool wins. Cuarón won Best Director. That was cool. So there is some good stuff from this ceremony. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse animated feature. This Is Minding the Gap was nominated for Best Documentary this year, so I love that movie. So there's some good shit.
Yeah, I agree. But there's also some like seriously regressive steps made at this Oscars that upset a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I don't think Green Book is a bad movie. I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think it's got good performances. You know, it's fine. It's a good movie. I just don't think it's a Best Picture worthy movie. Yeah. But if I had to take one out for first or form, it's Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody is not very good. It's got some cool, fun moments, but as a movie overall, it just has no business being here. Vice, Stars Born, Roma, The Favorite, Black Klansman, Black Panther. Those are solid flicks. I do think, and this is a tough conversation, but Black Panther, good movie. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. I think it looks fucking incredible. But Infinity War came out that year, which is like a far superior film. Like I don't think it's even close. Why? I mean, the answer is that they were like, we have to be inclusive and we got to be diverse. You shouldn't have makeup Best Picture nominees because you fucked up so many times in the past. So you're like, okay, the first superhero movie ever that's, you know, getting this kind of recognition is Black Panther when there's movies that are way better than it. And I like it. I think it's a good movie. I think it's like meets the Marvel standard of this is good, entertaining stuff. But Infinity War is like a borderline, you know, masterpiece when it comes to that kind of stuff, what they're doing. Same with Endgame. Those two movies, like, why are those not up if Black Panther is? Why is Spider-Man Far From Home not up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's certain genres have always been just massively disrespected by the Oscars, and superhero movies are still considered less than. Black Panther is not there because it's a superhero movie. Black Panther is there because it was a colossal hit and like very, you know, it was a culturally significant, huge movie. And I get that.
Yeah.
But Infinity War was a better movie and Endgame was a better movie. And I just either include, like either take all of it into account or don't. But I don't like this like one toe in bullshit they keep doing with certain genres.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my point. Is like, okay, if Black Panther's up, cool. Then take out Bohemian Rhapsody, take out Green Book, put Infinity War in. And then I won't complain at all. Because I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They put both of these amazing superhero movies in. And Spider-Man did what like no movie has done in years, you know, a couple years because of COVID.
Yeah.
It literally like created this incredible storm of conversation and people going back to the theater. Like reward that. And it was good. Reward that. I think that should mean something when it's a Black Panther cultural phenomenon. Spider-Man was too.
Yeah.
It literally brought humans back together. And what do you want movies to do? It should create that kind of unity, you know, of we're appreciating storytelling and art at the same time, and have differing opinions about it. That's like what it's for.
Yeah, I agree. And we see this throughout many years of the Oscars where it's films that are up that nobody fucking cares about, nobody wants to see. And it's, you know, a room of pretentious clip watchers just grabbing whatever they were able to see at the time. It's ultimately just, pointless and meaningless, but we see value in it. Academy Award nominated means something to us.
Yeah, if at least it means we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
On the show, like I look over at Best Director, Cold War is nominated. Great movie. I would love to talk about that movie on here. There's really no other route to go with that movie. Same with the First Reformed. Same with Minding the Gap. There's these films that we have a reason to talk about them, which is like what I'm grateful for the Oscars for. Hereditary. Neither of us had it in our top 5, religion movies. It could be there. I feel like I've talked about the movie too much to put it in another top 5 throughout all of our shows. It's no secret, but it should be here. It should be in Best Picture. That movie created a really cool kind of word of mouth thing that like Parasite did, and made a lot of money. And then when it was out on, I remember vividly, it came out on Amazon Prime shortly after its theater run. And it created it was like one of the most watched movies on Prime for those first, couple weeks. Cause it like created this storm of when horror fans like something and are like, no, this is really good. They spread the news to everybody. It's not just about horror fans anymore. It's like, hey, this movie's really good, even if you just like movies. It's not just a jump scare or one of those ones that just has, slasher stuff going on. It's a good fucking movie, a good drama that happens to be horror. So can't believe that's not here either. I think they had a chance to make this a really cool Best Picture group, including Hereditary, including Infinity War, including, First Reformed. And they just kind of fucked it up as usual.
Yep. And I did like Green Book. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cute. I thought it was pretty on the nose. Like, oh, racism's bad. Wow. Cool information there. But it basically is driving Mr. Daisy ultimately. But
yeah.
I treated it as like, people are not going to like this, but I'm laughing. So fuck it.
Correct. Yeah. I saw it in theaters and by myself, and I was like, oh, people were walking out like, that was great. And I was like, yeah, but this is going to get some backlash. There was a lot of older white people in the theater with me, and they were like, yeah, see, we can overcome this stuff, racism and stuff, it's going to be okay. And you're like, sure.
Yeah. Bunch of old people in the South watching a movie about racism being bad and being like, see, we're doing the right thing now. Yeah, I don't buy it.
Yeah, neither do I. Good stuff. Well, is there anything else you want to touch on with this ceremony?
No, I think we got it covered. I think First Reformed was a gem that got widely ignored, and I wonder if the A24 stamp has anything to do with that. Because like sometimes, like Moonlight, for instance, got high recognition, but I can't really recall any other A24 films that got that far.
No. Florida Project got some love. Jesus, I'm having a hard time even thinking. I mean, a lot of the ones that we love, no.
Yeah.
No, they get kind of shut out. I know I've read somewhere that they have a handful of nominations, but it's a lot of technical stuff or music or this or that. It's very rare that you see, Best Picture. Moonlight is definitely an outlier. Which makes sense. The movie. Minari is the Best Picture nominee. That was A24. That's a great point. I've always wanted to do something involving all the A24 movies, just kind of do like a draft of some sort. Maybe we got somebody else on with us, kind of talk about our favorite A24 movies and what we like about the company and what we don't like. I think it's fascinating. They've got so many different kinds of movies now. They've been around for almost 10 years.
Yeah, that sounds like a great vehicle for Adam or Jeremy to make a reappearance.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a lot of fun. But we got to wrap it up at some point, right? I I have COVID right now, so I've been trying my best. I'm definitely feeling pretty weak. I'm like fatigued from just talking, Well, and fatigued from the fucking subject matter. I think we both figured out that we're fucked throughout this episode. That's okay. I'm gonna go in the other room. I'm gonna hang out with my wife. We're gonna watch some fucking TV show that doesn't matter at all and have fun with it. And move on to the next day.
I love hearing you say my wife.
Yeah, my wife.
That's great.
So good. So Wednesday, got a really cool movie coming up for episode 195 of Filmgazm, Shaun of the Dead. Here we go.
Oh yeah, starting the gauntlet leading up to our 200th episode of the Filmgazm podcast. We're all very excited. We're all having a great time. We got some killer horror films coming up. Starts with Shaun of the Dead. Cannot wait.
Good. Yeah, I see the schedule and I'm like, holy fuck. These are some great movies. I'll try to keep up with Oscar Sunday. We'll try to keep up with the content. And then on Friday, Jesus Christ, The Pacifier on Beyond the Bad. I haven't seen that movie since I saw it once, and I think that's enough.
We really wanted to go after Vin Diesel. We've teased it so many times. We've gone after him just randomly because we wanted to, but now we have a full reason. And The Pacifier is the time he tried to go the Dwayne Johnson route. What a surprise. And become a Disney leading man. Didn't work out. So we're going to tackle The Pacifier.
Brilliant. Can't wait. And the next week we are doing a movie that hits its 20-year anniversary soon. A movie that we both wanted to do for so long. In fact, I've waited. I love this movie. It's my favorite Tom Hanks performance. I've waited to watch this movie just because I know we're gonna do it on here, and I've been waiting for years, literally, to rewatch it because I loved this movie in high school, and it's Road to Perdition from 2002. 75th Academy Awards. Got some love. It won Best Cinematography. It got some love at that ceremony, and I think it's one of the best movies from that year. I think it could rival, stuff like The Two Towers. So I'm very, very excited to talk about it, rewatch it, talk a little gangster films. Maybe we'll probably do some sort of top five. I think it would be cool to do either top five Tom Hanks performances, or I know. Just thinking about the 100 things he's done, or it would be cool to do, because it won Best Cinematography. I think it would be cool to do top five cinematography winners, and not ever, but do like a certain amount of years, maybe like the past 20 or 30 years. I don't know.
I'm down for that. Cinematography is always fun to talk about, and highlighting cinematographers is something I always enjoy.
Yeah, just how a movie looks. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. Well, either way, it's gonna be a lot of fun. That's a movie we've both been kind of just fucking getting ready for. It's a personal favorite for both of us. So it'll be cool to kind of tackle something we both respect a lot.
Oh yeah, Road to Perdition is such a beautiful, haunting film. I'm very excited to do this one. I've been wanting to do this one for years.
Yeah, and the time is right. 20th anniversary coming up, so feels good. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Filmgazm. Check out our website. We've always got reviews up, all kinds of random shit. Connor's watching an unhealthy amount of movies lately, and writing reviews for them. One of my favorite things to do is go on Filmgazm and just be like, "What the hell?" Like, because it'll be something for the shows, and then it's clearly something that you're just watching on your own for the hell of it. And it's always just kind of off the wall, crazy stuff that you're just going for. So I always love just kind of looking at our site and seeing what you're up to. And keep watching movies, guys. We'll see you on Wednesday for Shaun of the Dead.